Hello and welcome to Whispers Reddit. We're thrilled to have you join our cozy corner where we dive into the most intriguing, heartwarming, and sometimes mysterious stories from Reddit. Whether you're here to unwind, get inspired, or simply enjoy a good story, you've come to the right place. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a whisper. Grab a comfortable seat, relax, and let's embark on this storytelling journey together. Thank you for being part of our community. Let's get started. My cousin called me at midnight to watch her grown children, but I said no, and now I have a restraining order even though I didn't know her or her adult children. I turned down her call because I have a full-time job and I'm 28, which is obviously irrelevant because it seems like I should always make time for my family. I may know only 7% of them by name and 15% by face, but let's move on. I'm sorry, but someone is going to get bogged down. As the youngest of three, I work at the most forgiving job, even though it's not that bad, and I also schedule time for other people I see frequently. Now, let's get back to the funeral. During the pre-ceremony event, I kept getting the question, "Do you remember me? And are you aware of my identity to prevent any discomfort? I see 400 Mildreds, 250 Lindas, and 800 Stephanies, Chelsea, and Janets who naturally want every full planetary alignment. Yes, and yes, it has been a long time." One of my cousins, of whom I don't remember, but who obviously talks to my mom every day, came up to me at that time and introduced me to her kids. We said hello, and according to their mother, they had been looking forward to my arrival and seemed thrilled to meet me. The first thing that came to mind was an expletive, but I chose to ignore it because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. My cousin told me that her kids lived about 40 minutes away in my state from my house and that they were about my age. I thought, oh, that's great, but I didn't care. She said she would talk to my mother about it and suggested a small get-together later this year. Okay, I took it as a sign that I didn't need to worry about it and continued, even though I'm not 14 anymore and don't need permission to do anything. Let's fast forward to about 45 minutes later. At midnight, I get a call from a number in the city where most of my family lives. The location is also very specific. The fact that my late grandfather was only a few years older than my grandmother, who was down there at the time, called me suspicious, made me panic. I answered the phone. "Hello, this is your relative. How are you?" My thoughts were, who is the expletive? But I replied, "Hey, what's up?" She seemed confused by my question. "Everything is fine. I'm just checking in to see when you're free to get lunch this weekend." With all the math going on, I felt like that meme. I finally figured out who this woman was, and I apologize for what I said. She mentioned at the funeral that we talked about getting together later with you and the kids' names, and that in addition to the fact that the son's name is applying to the university and the daughter's name is transferring there for her junior year, I was thinking that we could meet after their Saturday morning tour and you could take them out to lunch. The alcohol is just nowhere, and the son's name is only 18. Age, but as I vividly remember, her son is incapable of drinking. She then starts to ramble about how her daughter, who is 22 years old and doesn't understand what moderation means, isn't allowed to drink unless she or her husband are around. What in the world would a 28-ish 29-year-old have to discuss with an 18 and 22-year-old? Maybe I'm the only one who thinks this, but don't use drugs, focus on your studies, and don't get anyone pregnant. I don't even know these people, so I was gasping and my cousin was not appreciative of my squawking over the phone before I even realized it. I murmured, "Yeah, I don't think so," but I was too busy laughing to hear her because I don't get off till about 8 p.m. I work a double shift on Saturdays, so first of all, I'm not sure what I said was so humorous, but she shot back. "You might also just have a delicious dinner or do some else at 8 p.m. Even though this is a college town, I can recommend a few places for you guys to check out on your own because there aren't many places that don't serve alcohol, but they do have other drinks after all." She said, "Pardon me. I know your mother didn't teach you to treat people rudely, especially your relatives. I don't know you, dude. You're calling me at the most inconsiderate way." "It's not that late, ma'am." I had already lost all patience by now. This isn't Star Trek, and I work about 40 minutes away after an 11-hour shift. I'm not in the mood to babysit. I'm not going to hear the end of this during regular waking hours, of course, in a subtle way. I hoped she would wake up and complain about me so my mother would reprimand her for calling us at such an inappropriate hour. It's inconvenient to plan a get-together with your children, who are not my age, and I have no idea who you are. You're all young adults, girl. I pay for my own health insurance, so we are not alike. Please don't call me again. It turns out that by making a joke about my cousin calling my mom to complain about me, I jinxed myself because she actually did that. She woke up my hard-working, impoverished mother to spy on me. In my opinion, my mother is a complete gem, but I have seen her attack others like a rogue chainsaw. I know that my mother will point out that I should have been a little more polite, to be honest, but I think I did okay by avoiding using profanity during the conversation. Perhaps I'm just discussing my zero exploitative tolerance update. Tinkerbell's charming fairy act wasn't a lie to me. She said that she used some words that were her way of saying that she cursed, but she didn't tell me exactly what she said. After saying one sentence, she hung up. My mom called my cousin again to get the full story, and after she had gotten up and had her coffee, she called me. At that point, my mom asked me if I had mentioned anything about Star Trek in a conversation with your cousin, and why you wouldn't be able to eat dinner with her children as. She was giving the impression that I had a transporter in my pocket over the phone, and I could definitely hear her trying not to laugh, honey. I don't think she gets your sense of humor, but that should come as no surprise given that we don't even know one another at that point. As soon as I answered, I could tell she was having trouble keeping her composure while being a mother. Yes, I did, since I only have a car and still have to pay for gas. I could hear him laughing, but my mother didn't have the strength to tell me to apologize just yet, even though I know she wanted to. She told me to wait until my cousin had calmed down a little, but she would keep me informed. I was on my way to work when this call came in, which is what almost caused me to crash my car. I know what your cousin did was ridiculous, but do you think it was appropriate to laugh at her? My mother asked. I won't tell you exactly what she said next, but it felt like she had come up with a rather colorful nickname for my cousin. The N-word appeared in the name, but don't worry, we're all black. I had never heard my mother use that word in my entire life, and I'm shocked that she was able to contact this woman back, much less have a normal conversation. For that reason, I think it should be obvious that no one in this household should be worried about me urinating. I'm a bundle of kittens compared to my mom when she's tired. I will now refer to her as this raccoon dog from now on because I have. I officially had enough of her. Her name is in my contacts as well. If you think that the rudeness and entitlement couldn't get any worse, you're probably just an exploitative fool. If you thought that things might get worse, I decided to work on a new beer recipe I had developed because I had today off, so there I was in the kitchen with my brew pot. To put things in perspective, the first step in making beer at home is to prepare the wort, which is basically your sugar water in order to add malt extracts. Since these materials take a long time to mature, I make sure not to waste any of it later on. This will be significant because the raccoon dog from hell called me while I was relaxing and doing some work. Grain is first boiled in a kettle or stock pot, and then the heat is turned off before boiling the liquid again. Hops are then added, adding a range of tastes and bitterness. For example, I use several components that I produce myself during the initial boil, making my brews a little more complex. After considering leaving her on voicemail, my curiosity got the better of me, so I answered. Hey, this is Rode. Oh hello, what's going on? I wanted to apologize for the other day, when I didn't even think about it. Normally, I stay up pretty late talking to someone who can't relate, so yes, I do feel that no worries are bothering me internally, so pay attention. I was hoping you would reconsider hanging out with blah and blah, even though I know we had a rough start. I know you were worried because you don't know each other, and they don't know. I understand that all I want is for them to be with someone they feel comfortable with now, as I've mentioned in previous comments. I think it's very reasonable because she is their mother after all, and she is probably just trying to make college fun for them personally. I hated going to classes and spending so much time with strangers, so I took online classes and stayed at home because I didn't like the idea of mingling at college. I told her that I understood exactly where she was coming from, and I appreciate your. They will be very happy with a soft click-clack, so I put the brew kettle back on the hot stove and said, sounds good, are you preparing a meal? Yes, you can cook, don't you? What are you producing? Your mother told me that these things must be planned for you in advance because of your job. RD said that since we'll all be gathering together, I was thinking about Thanksgiving or Christmas, so of course I don't see why not, since we'll be at the same place. I'm experimenting with a recipe called beer sugar base. I'm sorry, did you mention beer? Yes, are you brewing beer? Oh ha. I guess your mother knows what you're doing, so she knows I can make things awkwardly quiet. I said beer, not cocaine, but you didn't hear me? Are you also able to make that? You're acting like I'm breaking something, so I asked. I'm just concerned about the possible effects that could have on the kids, so maybe don't bring that up while you're around. Because I was going to see them over the holidays and because I don't really discuss my passions in front of my family out of respect and to avoid any drama, I simply agreed and rolled my eyes. Conventional families might not find my interests and career choice appropriate, but I would be dishonest if I said that her reaction and treatment of something I'm really passionate about didn't make me feel a little upset. Eyes great, okay, so the last thing is that I know the neighborhood has a lot of affordable apartments and student housing, so I wanted to know which ones we should look into that would be close to the school and you. This is where reality set in, and to be honest, I grinned a little. The prices are pretty fair for a 2-bedroom apartment, and it's only a 5 to 10 minute walk from the school, which is fantastic. You two might even live next door. Yes, that was true before the school year ends. We're moving to the city where I work, which is more than 40 minutes away, so we won't be in the area. Oh, I'm not really listening. Are you saying that you won't be able to visit them? Put Britney Spears in this expression. No, not at all. The main reason we're moving closer to our job is to reduce the distance we have to drive, but you do it constantly, so I don't understand why you couldn't go see them once or twice a week. That would be really inconvenient for me, and it doesn't seem. I don't understand why it's so inconvenient for you to drive halfway to see your relatives, especially on days like today when you should be spending time with your family instead of making alcohol. In other words, I think your priorities are a little out of order for the rest of this conversation. It seems very likely to me that spending a couple hours with your family is inconvenient. Do you not make the extra drive to your parents' city? Yes, but traffic is usually the reason, so you go see them even though you'll be even farther away when you move? Despite the fact that I have painfully and purposefully chosen my words throughout all of our conversations, my brain decided that civility was unnecessary and pushed it into a locked closet. I apologize. Did you really just compare the importance of your kids to whom I have said exactly 0 words in my entire 28-year life to my parents? I exploded. Okay, honey, let me begin by saying that I have no idea to whom you are speaking again. Who the explicit are you? What do I owe you? What time or? I don't know you explicitly, and I don't have an attic, so I don't care if you decide to move in years before I can even remember your explicit name. I'm going to visit my parents and give them all the homemade alcohol I want, and I'll be angry with you for taking my mind off things because my explicit word is now ruined because my fiancé's laughter made me almost cry. Do you deserve to reclaim a portion of my day, and why have you returned to my life? I hung up after saying, irate, see you on Thanksgiving, which was all I could manage in my annoyance. I haven't heard from anyone else because I'm pretty sure that no one will have the audacity to bring it up given how I was so focused on cleaning the sticky mess of my damaged mixture off my stove before my cat could get to it. I honestly can't remember if she said anything else after that. It was in the heat of the moment, though, and I sounded like an I ate bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls. I have to give my fiancé credit for making me laugh so quickly at the absurd noise I made when I saw the pot boil over when he came to help me clean up the mess. I asked him in jest if he thought I would be punished for that outburst, and he said he thought I scared her enough to make her temporarily retreat to her trash den. That blow-up was out of character for me because I don't get angry very often, so when I do, my parents usually just make sure I'm okay and keep it from coming up later. I'm glad I was able to keep you entertained. I know that most of you were expecting some sort of media circus monstrosity family meal, but this is the moment you've all been waiting for, to be honest. So was I, but this year the goddess of chaos decided to be my best friend and made the holiday perfect for me. There is nothing to do at all for the first time since Thanksgiving. We appreciate everyone who took the time out of their day to read this, as it will be the last installment of this chaotic roller coaster. Was cancelled, so my fiancé and I had to work on Black Friday. My grandma stayed at home to remember my grandfather, and my parents went to visit my brother. As a result, we spent Thanksgiving at home in peace and quiet, watching a ton of scary movies while cuddling in our pajamas and sipping delicious food and drinks that I had made. It was flawless, and I was swooning over it like a fat cat in a tuna factory. Then my phone rang, but I ignored the number since I didn't recognize it. The logical genius that is my fiancé suggested that I listen to the message, which I had completely forgotten about, so I turned it on so we could hear it. This is your landlord SFM since the workplace is obviously closed, so I'm using my personal phone. However, they could wait until tomorrow because I was on vacation for the holidays. A few minutes later, I received another call with the same number, and then another, and another, and another. I was about to enclose my phone in a salt barrier in the hopes that it would deter this stalker. My landlord wasn't very professional during this call, so don't judge, but I would have been furious too. I apologized for interrupting your vacation, but I had to get a call from you as soon as possible. You're probably wondering where the raccoon dog comes in, but I called her back in a panic because I had missed about 8 calls from this woman by this point. Oh baby, it's going to feel like Christmas. I don't have the entire conversation committed to memory, but I know I can catch it coming. She sounded like she had found a whole turkey in the toilet. Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize this was you. I started to say, no honey, I understand like everyone else, you were having a great time on vacation, please don't even think about it. She interrupted me, here's a nervous laugh. What's going on? Are you familiar with a woman named Raccoon Dog? She asked, what's her name? I said, not off the top of my head no, okay? I haven't spoken to this person in a month, and I was freaking out like a squirrel trying to cross a busy street because my first thought when my landlord called me on her cell phone on Thanksgiving was an eviction notice. And she knows you, she said that after you invited her kids over, she is unable to contact you. Make sure that explicit didn't take my see you on Thanksgiving comment from our most recent phone conversation as an invitation to visit my house. My landlord went on to say, going into full nail salon black lady mode given that my fiancé and I are antisocial recluses, may my landlord rest in peace. She clarified that neither of us had invited anyone, so I had no idea who this could be. That's what I thought, because you guys never really have nobody around like that. However, she knows your identity and has been asking for your room number without mentioning your fiancé because, really, no respectable company would just divulge the. My apartment complex is very close to the university, and the main road leading to the separate properties is a frequently used route directly to many of the university buildings. Therefore, even if we did, you would still be in violation of the law. What is she doing? I asked her why she was parking in front of the fire zone with her children in the car and shouting police brutality because our courtesy officer gave her a fine and threatened to have her car towed if she didn't move. Third of the fraternities take this very seriously, and if there were a fire in that area, that section would definitely be blocked off. Please take note that the fine for parking in front of a fire zone here can range from $500 to $2,000 depending on the location and severity of the situation. I asked if she had moved, but my landlord responded that she had threatened the parking officer. Her kids were still in the car, and he had to call for help. My fiancée, who was sitting next to me, exploded. The poor woman sounded so exhausted and defeated as she asked, "Can you formally state that you didn't invite her and don't want her here?" I told her everything from the beginning, and I could hear all the energy leave her body as she began to laugh. I was obviously still in a panic, and I'm still laughing uncontrollably because I still didn't know who this was. It's a raccoon dog, and my fiancé texted my mother 55 about it. We hung up, and I couldn't stop thinking about this woman's kids and how embarrassed they must have been. I don't understand how I haven't heard from someone who has fled at this point. I was silent, shocked, incredulous, and trying not to laugh. My fiancé said, "Eat watch," and I honestly didn't know what to say, so I just followed his instructions because I didn't want to choke on my food from laughter. I tried to think of something to say, but all I could do was open my mouth before he stopped. When I found out that RD Raccoon Dog had contacted her, my mother lost it and accused me of lying to her about spending Thanksgiving with her kids. It appears that during the same phone call where I yelled at her, the courtesy officer assigned by my landlord fined her $2,000, and to make things worse, her husband had to pay $3,500 to get her out of jail. She also received a $7,500 fine for trespassing, resisting arrest, and threatening violence toward a. The Pester Resistance 2 days ago created a group chat on one of my social media accounts with the three of us apologizing for their crazy mother and all the crap she said about me spending time with them. Did you think that was the worst? Police officer, yes, I didn't even have to do anything yet. It all started with a random, unsolicited phone call in the middle of the night a couple of months ago, and I'm still having trouble putting the situation into words. The kids spent the majority of Thanksgiving sitting in a car in front of a random apartment complex, and then they sat in a police station for an indefinite amount of time until their dad could come get them. They knew their mom would be in jail overnight, and that bailing her out would cost them half their money. The best part was that they said that what happened on Thanksgiving was the last straw for them, even though they had been wanting to apologize on her behalf for some time. I'm not sure what your schedules look like, but this weekend I have a pizza date and a restraining order, which is a match made in heaven. This whole thing has been such a cluster exploitative dumpster explosion, and I hope you all enjoyed sitting in it with me as much as I enjoyed writing it. Christmas Fund, which imagine spending Thanksgiving stuck in a spectacle of pure insanity brought on by your delusional mother. There's a really great pizza place up the street was all I could respond. If you haven't already, please subscribe and click the notification bell to keep up with more startling real-life stories that are happening in your area.